me, Rachel.
You're
really
very,
looking
very
forward to our chat.
Yeah, really good to have you here. Tanya, we've known each other for at least 3 years now.
I think so, yes, about 3 years, yes. Yeah.
We met through the Athena network.
Yes, we did.
And certainly for the last 2 of those 3 years, we've been in the same group, haven't we?
We have, yes. Yes, we have. So meeting monthly. So
that's right. And we have worked together both ways, actually.
We have, haven't we? Yes.
So Tanya, for you as the audience, Tanya did this fantastic marketing strategy plan for me when my business was slightly different from the one now. My speaker coaching was part of a bigger spread of things that I offered, and I was working on supporting women in the professions where they need to get leadership roles, helping them build a stronger professional brand.
And it was fantastic. It was a fascinating piece to look at, and fascinating to see how is the younger women and versus their male counterparts, the differences in how they progress and things. So yeah, it was a very fascinating piece to work on.
Yes, thank you. It is fascinating because, I mean, women in law was one of my sort of key target market, if you like. And more women than men go into the profession now. Difference, but it is a slight difference. But that all falls away at leadership level, and yeah, really interesting. And and then obviously you've worked with me on your speaking and
oh yes, so more recently looking at the stories, and yes, again equally fascinating piece of work. So so both got to know each other quite well, I think, through that process, and as you say, through the monthly meetings with Athena. So so it's great to be on here today as well.
Good to have you. And so Tanya, just tell, because I know that you are very specific about describing yourself as a marketing strategist, which I know is different from a marketing consultant. So please share with our listeners what it is that you do. What is the difference between a strategist and a consultant?
I wouldn't say
how you got into it.
Yeah, the distinction between a strategist and a consultant isn't probably so clear cut, because there are consultants who will very much work on the marketing strategy. I am different between there's a difference between me being a marketing strategist and me being a marketing generalist who does the marketing. So I am very much the person who will look at, would be the person to sort of probe and ask questions and help you look into things, basically putting the foundations in place, understanding what's going on in your market, who your competitors are, your position in the market, who you should be targeting, what your goals are, and importantly at each of those stages asking why, getting you to think and challenge your thinking and challenge your ideas and your assumptions about things. So, and in that process getting you to put those foundations in place, which then make it so much easier to market what your products and services, and then ultimately, which we're going to be going on to later in this chat, is selling them, so, and encouraging people to purchase them. So that is the difference. I'm the person who sort of helps you kind of, if you to put it simply, helps you to create the brief, so either you can do your marketing more effectively and efficiently, or you can brief somebody else to do your marketing, being that marketing generalist, being that somebody who is going to take your social media forward, somebody who's going to do your brand photography, somebody who's going to do your design, your web design, your digital marketing. Because then having, as you say, with your marketing strategy and plan that I created for you, it clearly sort of documented and articulated who it was, what you were doing, why you were doing it, who you were targeting, and why they should buy from you. And it's the same for the marketers who do the doing. That makes their life so much easier, because then they can focus on doing the fantastic execution, and they're not having to try and dig in at the front end. And quite often it's something that they have to do very quickly to get the job going, because it's been done properly. So that's different. I help put those foundations in place. Going back to the consultant versus the consultant, quite often a marketing consultant can straddle both of those. So
so you don't particularly want to do people's marketing?
Not necessarily. It depends on the piece of work that I'm, the client said, can you help with? So I can I can do the marketing piece, but generally where I prefer to be working, and I think as we've spoken before and I've talked about, I'm right-handed, and it's like writing with my left hand a bit. So I'm doing, unless it's a piece of marketing execution that I'm really, really comfortable with, quite often it can feel like I'm writing with my left hand. And you'll talk to, you know, I know marketing doers and people who are fantastic at the execution. You give them a brilliant brief and they'll create magic from it, things that you would never have thought possible. But you ask them to dig into the strategic part and they're like, I can do it, but it doesn't bring me joy. It's not my, and if for them, it's like working with their left hand as well, writing with their left hand. So yeah, I can, but again, it depends very much. My heart and soul is very much in the strategic marketing, which I firmly believe is, you know, it's something small businesses also need. It's not just the preserve of the larger corporates and bigger businesses. It's, we all need a marketing strategy on some level, and actually understand what one is, because I think there's a lot of confusion about what a marketing strategy and plan is.
Yes,
as well.
I was certainly, you know, taken aback by how thorough the report you produced for me was. Yeah, no, really, really good. So
thank you.
There's a collaboration between you and somebody who is the doer, the marketer.
Yes, yeah, there is, and yeah, I have formed them. I'm in the process of discussing it with other potential collaborators, because yes, it's they quite often will get people come to them who very passionate, these business owners are very passionate about what they do, but they're struggling to articulate and just explain to the market, the other marketer or photographer or designer, exactly what it is, you know, why they're selling this thing, why they've created this business, and you know who exactly they're targeting, and why that person or why that target audience should buy from them. And so yeah, there is certainly a need for it. There's a case of education, because as I say, small business owner, quite often you will think, when you think about your marketing, you'll go, okay, I need some social media, I need some brand photography, I need a website. And I think marketing strategy is something that I think a lot of people think just will fall in there. They don't actually realize it's something they actually need to step back and work on, and it's more than putting a list of activities in an Excel spreadsheet, or just writing something into a business plan template. As you say, there's quite a bit more detail and thinking that can go into it, and there's a lot of creativity as well. I don't think people expect the amount of creativity that goes into it, and that ultimately, that's what helps you understand what makes you stand out.
Yeah,
which is why I called the business and what I called it. So yeah.
Yes. So how did you, because obviously we all have a backstory, and Tanya, and I know you've got a specific story you're going to share later, but really, what's your backstory? How did you come to be in marketing, and how did you come to prefer the strategy to the doing?
Okay, so no, brilliant question. So I actually started during university. I had decided that, you know, I wanted to do something. I'd come from a background where it wasn't a given that you went to university. There weren't a huge amount of jobs around for people to do in the summer. I think I was offered dog walking or dog sitting locally, and I was like, I want to do more with my summers. And I came across the Southwestern company who were doing, they give you the opportunity to run your own business door to door selling books. So I did that for 2 summers, and you know, I made money. I wasn't going to win awards in sales, but you know, it was respectable enough. But what that taught me was that actually I'm not the person, I used the analogy of the theatre, I'm not the person who stands on the stage, I'm the person who sets it up behind. And I felt quite often, a lot of the time when I was selling these books, I was always thinking about, okay, how could they be better for the, you know, the people we're trying to sell them for too. And that sort of pushed me into the, actually I need to be the person working on creating, you know, creating something and working and understanding the customers and all the things that marketing is about. So it just seemed, that sort of led me to, when I was looking for roles after university, led me towards marketing. And I was doing a Russian degree, and again I was like, there was no, I think I was very much I think yeah, it's just came up. I just came up the other day. I think it's there was an Adam Faith and a Zoe Wanamaker series in the early 90s when I was at that age, and Zoe Wanamaker's character spent time in Russia, and I think that's what partly ignited the fact I had the opportunity to learn Russian at school, and it just looked so exciting and so interesting. It was, you know, all opening up after the breakdown of the Soviet Union, and I was like, I'd love that opportunity to work in that environment. So being able to speak Russian and then sort of using that Russian to actually go and work in Russia was a big driver for me. And I think I always had this goal as well. I wanted to work abroad and I wanted to be fluent in another language. So I had this opportunity so I was like, okay, I want to work in Russia and I want to work in marketing. And so I found I managed to get on a traineeship through ISEC, which a French organisation set up after the war to make sure that something like an atrocity like the Second World War never happened again, by promoting cultural understanding. And I managed to get onto a marketing traineeship, which I shouldn't have got with an arts degree, but the Southwestern work helped me to get that, because I was able to say, actually, I've been running my own business. I've been selling, you know, successfully selling products and service. So I think I do have enough business acumen to do a traineeship. So because their requirement for the business style traineeships were that you had to have done a business degree or an economics degree, which I didn't have, but I managed to get this marketing traineeship with a publishing company, and then just continued, sort of had that for 3 months in Moscow, got another opportunity with a language school to my remit there was to grow their Russian department. Yeah, so, and I was essentially creating value propositions there. So I think that's where I started to realize that I'm more strategic than sort of executional. And yeah, there's this whole, yeah, I'm more analytical. It just suits my personality, and I could actually see that I was able to join dots where other people weren't necessarily seeing them, and it just seemed to fit really, really well. And that theme carried on through when I went to subsequently take my professional diploma in marketing. The modules that I was really, really strong in were the planning, the research, the more strategic modules. So yeah,
I think it often does, as you said, with personality. I mean, we all have a personality type, don't we? Personality profiling and all that sort of thing, and you know, different skills. And explain, if you will, Tanya, because I only know through working with you what you mean by a value proposition. Because most of our listeners will be
yeah. They might not know. So how I see it, there's several. Again, that's what makes it quite confusing. There are several definitions that are flying around. For me, it's how you articulate the value that you are giving to the customer through your product and service. So you could just push out your product and service. And, you know, in the marketing world, we talk about marketing-led companies and product-led companies and sales-led companies. And so product-led companies will focus on, okay, this is our product. This is why it's great from our point of view. And customer buy it. Well, boom, 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 customer buy it. Where if you're thinking about your value proposition, you're thinking about the customer. You're thinking about, okay, how do I shape my product and service, and how do I communicate it? It's all about putting the customer first. So the canvas that I use in my discovery packages, which is the strategizer one I used with you, what I love about that one is it makes you focus on the customer. So what are the pain points? What are the things that you are trying to help the product or service of your type initially with the customer that you're helping them overcome? And then once you've understood those, then and only then do you look at, okay, so what is it that I offer or could be offering relative to what my competitors or what's already out there to actually help the customer, either, you know, with a problem, with a challenge, with achieving something in a way that's, ultimately what you want it to be something that will really delight them and something that no one else is doing. So it's about you selling your products and service, but, you know, shaping and communicating it in a way that's focused on the customer and the value that you're giving to them.
And that's something we hear a lot about what is the problem that you solve for your client, isn't it? And you know, conveying that. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, Tanya, I always like to get people to share a story. All about stories, and you've explained.
Have you shared one?
Well,
you got a bonus.
One here, haven't you? That
so there was another one which actually ties into the one I've just spoken about, and this is so I did a stint again when I was in Moscow. I did a stint in actually in marketing recruitment, and I'm not a native speaker of Russian, but in one job I had to cold call in Russian, and you might not expect it, but the hardest part wasn't actually speaking in a foreign language. Sometimes the hardest part was actually when I was having to do calls when I didn't believe in the message. I didn't believe in what I was selling. So if, you know, the position I'd been given hadn't, you know, the person who briefed it, you know, I hadn't really, despite sort of going back and saying, okay, what's this mean? I wasn't really on board with the position. I wasn't really on board with, you know, why the candidates I was calling should really want this position. So it didn't matter what language I was speaking in. If I was fully on board, if I really got the position, I could really understand why these candidates should really try for these positions. And also, again, when selling back the candidates into the client, you know, I really was enthusiastic, passionate, because I really got it, because I got a really good brief about, you know, what this position, why it's great, why the business, the company is great, why the candidates should work for it. It made it so much easier. So for me, it's just like people, when you're selling something or when you're marketing or promoting or anything, if people buy from people, and if you're not really engaged and if you're not really passionate about what you're trying to sell them or what you're trying to talk about, what you're trying to promote, it's going to come through. And for me, when it comes to why you need a marketing strategy as well, that makes that process so much easier, because what you've done is you've gone through and you've really understood through the process of putting together a strategy, you've really understood what you're doing, why you're doing it, who you're targeting, making sure you're targeting the right people that fit with what you're trying to, the benefits that you can give to them. And also ultimately, again, why they should buy from you, why they should work with you. And that just makes that selling process so much easier, because if you're, as I say, it doesn't matter which language you're speaking in. And I could sell in Russian.
Yeah.
And I could sell in Russian, not when my Russian was better, not when I happened to be speaking more fluent Russian that day. It was on the days when I actually really, really was behind what I was being asked to sell.
Yeah, I love that. I love that story. Yeah. It's the same with speaking. I very often, sometimes, you know, when I'm with, it's very hard sometimes to take my speaker coach hat off and I'm listening to a presentation and without meaning to start thinking, well, if they did that, it would be better. And if they didn't do that, it would be better. But sometimes people can be making all the mistakes in the book, as it were, but when they are so passionate about what they're talking about, it really doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't, because their message comes across. Of course, they could convey it even better if they weren't making all the mistakes in the book, but that true passion transcends so much else.
You've got something to build on then, haven't you?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's better to have the passion than be polished without the passion.
Yes, exactly, exactly. So using that story, Tanya, I think that is a beautiful story to convey what you do. So when you were speaking about what you were doing, I would do that bit about, because obviously by the time you told the story, you knew that you'd been and lived in Russia and studied it. But I think it's fair to say that the majority of small business owners hate the concept of cold calling to sell. I mean, most of us don't have to do that anyway, but the idea of it. So if you could say, you know, who here hates cold calling, or if you hate cold calling, imagine having to do it in Russian. And then explain how actually that wasn't the barrier that you didn't have, and that's part of why you do what you do. I think that could be a nice,
to use that as the hook, and that gets people listening. Yes,
I think so. Tanya, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here today.
And likewise, it's been a pleasure to be here.
Talking, but again, we need to be mindful of our audience. who, you know, haven't got all the time in the world. But
no.
It's really, really nice to have you on here and sharing a little bit about what you do, and hopefully sharing some learning for the people listening through that. So thank you so much. Tanya, where can people find you if they want to get in touch?
Where can they can find me on my Facebook page is facebook.com/distinctive, or if you go to my website is www.distinctive, so distinctiv.co.uk, and I'm also on LinkedIn, sort of LinkedIn Tanya Gaffon, and Distinctive is on there as well, so I can be found there. Those are the places I'm most active at the moment.
If they follow your page, you post regular tips on marketing and strategy.
Yeah, on the page, and also I have the group, the Secret to Standing Out, where go into a bit more depth, a bit more question asking and things like that. So yes.
And is that a free group, Tanya?
That's a free group too.
Yeah, so
yes.
Anybody listening can join that group.
They can join that group too.
When you see this, when this is on my Facebook page live, do you mind typing in those?
I can as well, and also I do have I have the marketing taster sessions as well, which is where they can get a bit more taster as well. So I can post a link to my Eventbrite page for people to follow, so they can find out about that as well.
Excellent. Okay.
Brilliant.
So much.
Thank you.
Today, and we'll speak again very soon.
We will do, and yes, have a lovely Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.